All right, folks, so 269 new homes sold in January of 2026. And now you're asking yourself, well, what is going on with real estate? It is collapsing hard. It is the lowest sales in 44 to 45 years if we go back. So it's lower than the pandemic. It's lower than the financial crisis of 2008. It's lower than the 90s. So we get all the way to 1981. And why 1981 is so interesting, and I'll get into that in a second, is because we dealt with high interest rates. So at that time, in 1981, was around 18%. And I know exactly what you're going to say. Well, the price of homes, it was completely different. And I can agree with you. I'll get into the price and the comparison today versus 1981 and how people were breeding. However, today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a debt problem. People are carrying so much debt, visas, mortgages, cars, cell phone bills, well, you name it. Everything is on credit. And in order for it to come to an affordability level, it has to crash. It has to come to reset. That's the word. And we heard that word for so many years. Maybe we knew what it was, maybe we didn't, but now we are maybe clicking in to realize that it has to reset in order for it to start gaining the new momentum. So let's get into the actual theme of the video and what is happening. So 269 homes sold, lowest since 1981. Compared to normal years, thousands of monthly transactions used to happen. So imagine we went from thousands up to hundreds, right? So that's not even 50%. That's horrible. That's 80% maybe, right? So it is definitely hard. So this is not resale homes. This is obviously new homes. So let's just keep that into perspective. But what matters here, why this is important, developers pause projects, which definitely impacts your bank account. And you're asking me why? Well, if people are not developing and building, right? So the actual economy is not turning, and construction workers, Home Depots, everybody that is associated bringing that project alive is out of work. So no work, no pay, you cannot pay your bills, stress arises, other problems come to life, and all of a sudden you go bankrupt, right? So when people got asked, I forgot the quote, but someone once said, first it started slowly and then I got into bankruptcy very fast. It started to turn very quickly, and it is very true. So construction jobs at risk, trade slowed down, suppliers impacted, municipal revenue shrinks. And we know wherever in any town and city, no revenue and stuff like that, you tend to see that erosion slowly. First is roads, sidewalks, transit, and it keeps going on and on and on. People start to breathe heavy, and something has to give. You heard the terminology, bubble has to burst. I know some of you, believed in the bubble, for years and years and years, and it was mind-boggling, including myself, guys, because this bubble should have burst maybe 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, and we would have been better off because it would have been less of a bubble and we would already be in a recovery mode or recovered by now. However, that did not happen, right? And we got into the mega, giga, ultra bubble. And when this bubble bursts, it would be insane. But we can definitely see that the bubble has holes. There's no question about that. So while you're at it, please like, share, and subscribe, and let's move further into the video. So 1981 example, home prices at $80,000 on average, interest rates at 18%. So the average mortgage was around $1,000, and income used to be between $25,000 and $30,000. Now, if you summarize all of that, people would also carry less debt to begin with because less exposure, right? Less when it comes to cars and other leverages and student loans and you name it. Like people buy all kinds of junk nowadays, and they're drowning in this type of debt. So example of 2026, home prices around $1 million mark, interest rates around 6, and mortgage around $5,300 per month, and income is somewhere around $100,000, like $100,000 to $120,000. However, brings me to another point. Entrepreneurs, businesses, and stuff like that, somehow they got into the illusion, especially those ones on commission-based, right, businesses or people. Somehow they got into this weird philosophy, right? Spend today and earn next year. Like spend as much as you can and don't worry about it. You will earn next year, right? So I was always skeptic. I could not understand. I understand motivation and I understand pushing yourself. I understand trying to be number one and all of that jazz. I get it. I understand, right? But like it was always like, why am I going to sign on a dotted line for a vehicle like a nice luxury sedan and pay $1,800 to $2,000 a month and then push myself to go nuts and insane trying to fill that gap, right? And it seems like for a long time, people live like that because it kept working, right? Like you get satisfied today, don't worry about it, you'll make it next year. Just have it today on a swipe, next year you will make it. As long as you're positive, as long as you're this and that and all that nonsense, right? And don't worry, you will make it, right? But it shows now that markets can shift and they shift very fast. So what the problem is right now, it's the buyers are missing, right? So affordability stretch, investors are gone, assignments are definitely failing, pre-construction is rotten, appraisals are risky, right? I mean, you have to appraise to show it to the bank, but what happens, I mean, if the appraisals come in soft, you have to pay the difference in order to close, and financial uncertainty. So this is not the panic of 2008 where people were kind of like, like frozen and didn't know what to do and whatnot. But there was always other, I would say, systems in place. And thankfully, we kind of override that hurdle. I would say it was overwritten somehow, right? Because we had investors from abroad, money was coming in, everything was, the development started pushing, and it seems like everything started pumping and pumping and pumping, right? And we went over that hurdle, right? And I keep saying in my videos, like we were making fun of people in the United States, how they were not normal, like to say it like that, like how the banks were over leveraged and they were giving, and every American earned $1 but owed $1.30 back in the day and stuff like that. And they had loans on ludicrous vehicles and cars and all of that stuff, and they were living in la la land and yada yada yada, right? And look at us today. And for some reason, for some odd reason, there are people out there still believing that it will not crash, or it's not crashing. It's just some kind of a small blip adjustment, right? So I don't get that, right? Like, comment below if you have friends or people like pushing their belief that this is only a minor blip or whatever. I don't even know what to call it, right? Like, I don't know how they cannot see the whole picture that everyone is sinking very, very quickly at this point. All right, so we're not in 18% rates, but we are at 1981 level of sales, right? So we are comparing ourselves to probably one of the worst times in the I would say recent times, right? Like the early 80s were extremely challenging with ludicrous rates and stuff like that. And we even broke that particular record in 2026. So what do we do now? I don't know. I think people have to reevaluate themselves. People have to reevaluate and I would say be honest way they stand and how they stand and try to fix their problems individually, because I don't think there's band-aid or one fixed formula solution for all, and there's definitely no one out there that is ready, I would say, to help you as a whole, if you know what I'm saying, aside maybe family and stuff like that. And even that, like, we went through the pandemic, like family, I know so many families trying to help. Parents were running to the banks, signing HELOCs and line of credits, putting their homes into jeopardy just so kids could buy or upgrade on their real estate portfolios and whatnot. And now everybody's stuck, right? Like, I have families, they're worried about their pension. They don't even know how they will manage those times when they actually retire, because there's not enough money on the table and their debt ratio is up to here. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you got some value out of this. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.